We want you to plan for success. Welcome to Planning Matters Radio.
Hi, Peter. Good to see you. Today we are doing a little myth busting, which is always fun. And today is the myth of retiring in a lower tax bracket. I've heard before that if you don't have a tax plan, you do not have a retirement plan, right? It's an often ignored facet of holistic planning, and it can have major ramifications. A lot of us assume that in retirement, we are not making an income anymore. Therefore, we're not going to be in as high of a tax bracket. But that's not necessarily true, right?
It is not true.
true.
Retirement doesn't mean that expenses go away. It means that the paycheck goes away, but
Right.
you do still have income. I mean, the majority of Americans have Social Security and tax deferred savings. And so I wouldn't call it a myth necessarily, but I think that it is an older way of thinking that we need to readdress and reconsider, that taxes will be lower in retirement. I think that this came about as we were in a previously much higher tax environment. But today rates have fallen, and I think that the thinking up to this point was pretty spot on and accurate, but looking forward, not going to be the case. Social Security was once a tax-free stream of income, but most Americans are going to pay tax on their Social Security. 50% or 85% of Social Security can be taxable, and most Americans who have done some proactive savings for retirement have done so in tax-deferred accounts. So when we create income from those in retirement, it also is taxable income. Now, historically, we are in a comparably low and attractive tax environment today. Tax rates have been much, much higher in times past than they are today. At one point, up to as high as 94%. In fact, I've heard that's why Ronald Reagan got into politics, is
Right.
that he realized that if he made more than 2 movies within 1 year, basically he was only going to net 6% of his pay for acting in that third movie. And he didn't like that. So he ran for governor and then subsequently for president, obviously. But, you know, we are today in a much lower, more friendly tax environment. However, the writing's on the wall here, and in fact, it's already in law. Tax rates will be going up in 2026 unless this administration turns around and says, hey, the policies of that last administration were the way that we should handle things, which I really don't care who's in the White House or in the administration. It almost never happens, but certainly not with these two dynamically different groups. So the 2026 tax rate will be the expiration of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that went into effect in 2017. And the 12% bracket is slated to go up to 15%. The 22% bracket is slated to go up to 25%. The 24 is slated to go up to 28. So it's not just on the evil rich millionaires or those making more than 400,000. This is really an across the board tax increase on just about everyone, which makes it a great time to do some proactive tax planning. Aaron, you mentioned it. If you don't have a tax plan, you don't really have a retirement plan. It's not what you have in those retirement accounts. It's how much of it you get to keep. And for most Americans, that involves some amount of proactive tax planning. Very careful, very prudent to keep as much as possible without getting into any gray areas, because there are some fantastic opportunities to control and manage your tax liability.
Right. And I think that you've hit the nail on the head, right? Everybody's in agreement essentially that taxes are going to go up. We've talked about the US debt before, right? It's over 30 trillion right now. So you mentioned some options then to prepare for those hikes now. Is there anything that I can or should be doing?
Well, I think that if you can harvest dollars out of those tax deferred accounts and convert them to Roth, it's a fantastic time to do that and let no crisis go to waste. Identify opportunities where you have them. I know that everybody's really nervous and focused on the market right now, but for savvy proactive planners, they may be looking at this as an opportunity to convert over dollars, get them into that Roth account where any recovery that we do see is going to happen tax-free rather than tax deferred. There are other places that you can generate some tax-free income as well. I mean, we've heard of tax-free municipal bonds. There is the opportunity for cash withdrawals. You can access the equity in your home. I think that that is a measure of last resort, but the reverse mortgage is a place where you can essentially get tax-free income. And I've seen people use that planning strategy in a couple of different ways. I mean, ideally, I like to continue to let tax-free dollars grow for as long as possible and be kind of the last thing that we access. But if you are retiring before age 65, then building up some kind of tax-free income to utilize as a stopgap measure in the donut hole, and building up non-retirement assets if you are looking to retire before 59 and a half, especially, is very important in your planning process. So if that's a goal for you or a situation that you are facing, you need to think about taxes and penalties on accessing your money and how to go about doing that in the most efficient, effective manner possible.
Well, this was really helpful, Peter. I think it helps me understand why having that tax plan, it has to be part of your retirement plan. If somebody would like your help creating that tax plan, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, definitely reach out. Whether you're saving on an ongoing basis or you already have a sizable amount built up in those tax deferred accounts,
Right.
now is the time to plan
Right.
proactively. And we can run some side by side comparisons and show
Hmm.
people the numbers, quantify how much it would cost if you simply defaulted to the IRS's plan versus if you were a little bit proactive in identifying these opportunities now. And the difference is often staggering. A
Right.
lot of times, Aaron, if I'm talking to like a 60 to 65-year-old and they're looking at that retirement account in an IRA or a 401k, the ultimate tax bill, if they just default to the IRS's plan, is oftentimes more than the account value is today. And we can pay it for a fraction of that price if we plan effectively. So get in touch. I can run those numbers for you, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a call, 919-300-5886, 919-300-5886. You can go online, richonplanning.com. It looks like richonplanning.com, richonplanning.com. Email me, Peter at Richon Planning. And I wrote an article last year that was featured in several magazines about proactive tax planning. But the gist of it was the more wealth that you have, the more expensive this is to overlook in taxes. So it means that really everybody needs to look at this, but specifically if you have more affluence, more wealth in those tax deferred accounts.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Peter, thank you.
Thank you.
This has been Planning Matters Radio.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.